Yeah.
Hello. Welcome everybody to our latest edition of Axon's live Q&A. My name's Robbie. I'm joined here with Tamara, Dane and Dane, and we're here to talk all things about ADF transition, veteran entrepreneurship, what's going on in the property market, what's going on with your ADF housing entitlements. There's a little chat box over to the right-hand side. Put your little notes in there. Let's have a bloody rip a little Q&A session. As the name suggests, you lead the agenda. We got nothing to talk about, but everything to talk about. So we're really keen to know what's going on in your lives, and you'll certainly get to know what's happening in our lives as well.
Mr. Kenham's off with a bang. Actually, Dane and I, we were having a bit of a chuckle this afternoon because I said, I always get thrown. It happens every week, but you'll be like, so what have you been up to? And I'll be like, oh, yeah.
Just work.
And then Dane said the same thing. He goes, yeah, every week I go, I'm going to prepare myself for that question a bit better next week. And then he goes, and then I sit there and go, shit, what did I do all week?
It's almost like when we do our end of week wrap, like we do as a team, right? And it follows the same routine. I'm like, no worries. I did this. Robbie, what did you do? Dane, you did this. Simo, you did this. Damo, you did that. James, what did you do? Adam. And without fail, it gets to the last bloke, who is Daniel. I love you to bits, man. Gets to the last person. He's the only one who hasn't spoken. He's like, oh, shit, I'm next. I'm like, there's no one else left. He almost falls off his seat thinking, like, who else is going to talk before you, mate? Like, that's pretty much the end of it. So,
well, actually, that's a good little event that's occurred this week, is that we do have something, as I see a heap of bloody legends joining us. Kent, Tim McGregor, Sammy Wynn, Kelly Marie with the little love, the stars in her eyes, Christy Williams, Beck Hinton, I'm that guy. Nicole Otto, Sunny Cerberus this week was wondering what to do tonight. Well, guess what? We've now got you stitched up for the next hour. News, great to see you on the video today, brother. I hope you love the little property that we walked you through today. So I know that Haley did a fantastic job there. Sammy Wynn, I drove past your property today for the first time. So I was out and about today, having a look at a few different things.
So you did more this week than just go and watch the footy?
Just this week, yes, I did.
Just this week.
Sammy Wynn, I had fucking goosebumps, mate, when I drove past your property. Like, that is sitting, this is a safe space, prouder than a honeymooner's cock up on the hill there. It was absolutely excellent. I loved driving past it. So I know that you are walking around. I know that Spuddy CJ's walking around like a half-shut pocket knife as well every time you guys go and visit it.
Oh, my God.
Anthony Lee now said he's back. Sorry, ladies and gents. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
God, I've had HR nightmares all fucking day.
3 minutes in.
You're the biggest one.
But yeah, it's like he's getting 10. You're in the bin for 10, mate. Send him off.
How good does it look? We're still talking about the house as well.
Red card.
There you go.
Tomorrow's
how's that? Even Noah's jumping on the bandwagon. Anthea, we have obviously talked you up so much, mate, that when you turn up down in Canberra, everybody is just waiting to be able to see you as well. So for those of you who aren't tracking, this Friday night, the Axon crew, or part thereof, is going to be down in Canberra. So if you're out and about in Canberra and you haven't already responded to Noah saying that you're coming along to our event, make sure you do that. It starts at 6 o'clock Friday night. Beers, wine, food, everything that you can imagine that needs to be put on will be put on. And then at 8:30, Dane will be sent home to bed. For you, ladies and gentlemen, Ben Hinton, I'm looking at you. Anthea, I'm looking at you. Dane will be sent home to bed at 8:30. He's not allowed to power on throughout the night because he's got a 6 a.m. flight the next day.
We'll say that now. That won't be enforced, I don't think.
Yeah.
Mate, I'm just letting you know.
You've done your bit.
If it goes downhill from there, that's not my fault now.
In our morning meeting, he's like, oh, yeah, I've been put on the 6 a.m. flight. I'm like, hang on a second. You chose that, mate. Do not throw that back
I don't regret it.
Oh, someone put me in that 6 a.m. flight.
It'll be rough. I know I'm in for a rough one. But...
Yeah, there you go, Benny. That's what I'm thinking. Just fucking stay out. Go to the airport from the pub.
I'll pack my bags the night before, I think.
For the record, hasn't been done by me for a few years. Tam and I, we have done that before, but not for a few years. But, Dan, did you know the wonderful Justin and Kat, he's one of the sergeant instructors down at Duntroon. He's coming along. He's bringing along two of his friends. So Melissa and Aaron, who I'm coaching on Friday morning, and then some other friends as well. this is the power of little Q&As that we're talking about, right? So I had a coaching session with them last night. They put a plan together for them to come back and buy their third property, which is super exciting for them. And they're like, yeah. Well, I'm like, have you listened to some of our podcasts? They're like, no, not yet. I'm like, fucking why not, mate? There's like such, little bits of gold in there that you've had on. They're like, all right, yeah. We'll watch some between now and Friday night, and then we'll tell you all about it on Friday night. I'm like, you guys been listening to our live Q&As on Wednesday night? They're like, no, we're busy, fucking blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I'm not fucking coming on Friday night. They're like, what? What do you mean you're not coming on Friday night? I'm like, the boys and girls are going down there, and I won't be there. So please entertain Justin and Kat on my behalf, Dan. I did say that you're going to host them there.
Yeah, man, of course. I'm looking forward to seeing Justin. It's been a good couple of years since I've been able to sit down and say good day to him. So I think the last time I saw him, we were over in the sandpit together. So it'll be good to have a bit of a jaw off session about that one. So
he's got a couple of really, really good mates that he's bringing along from Duntroon that have also been following us for a while. That are, really looking forward to meeting the team, firsthand. So
and between the two of you, I know that the ability to jaw off is going to be in abundance. You're going to be fine. I've been hearing Dane flapping off lately.
All right, we love it, don't we, mate? We got our own little safe zone down there that we.
Finally, the office within the office.
I reckon the next time anything gets done in the office, we're just going to have to put up like some soundproof glass. So like triple glazed glass through there, lock everything off, soundproof, and it'll be perfect.
Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea at all. Hey, where I was actually going with that.
We did downstairs. So about putting in insulated.
No comms.
Oh, that was really bad comms to have, unfortunately. And you and I are on the same Wi-Fi. We're like 8 meters apart, a couple of walls different.
66 flights in the air, mate.
Mate, the Wi-Fi doesn't reach them up there.
We did noise complaints downstairs, and now they're having to put a double wall film.
Tammy, you might have to jump off and start again, bud. It's not coming through very well. How's that? Call my wife, bud, online in front of everyone. Awesome.
Mate, so it was probably one of my favourite things when husbands and wives call each other buddy, pal,
mate.
All those things, mate. Like, I could never get away with it, but it is what it is. Dane Gilchrist, what a legend. Welcome, buddy.
Indeed.
Welcome to the party. It has been quite a while.
Where I was going with that right when we very started was one of the good news stories that's happened this week is that the wonderful Renee that used to work with us, Dan, I know that's sort of been ratified now at the highest level that the likelihood of her going to come and join us again is really, really high, which is amazing.
I didn't even know that's been signed off, but okay.
Pretty well, yeah. We pretty much said that the other day. We're like, all right, let's do that.
I don't know if she knows that. I'm pretty certain the rest of the team doesn't know that, but okay.
It does now.
I'm just excited. I'm just excited to have another veteran come and join us to bring us back up to 10 veterans again.
Yeah, mate. Well, I suppose we can't go back in our word now. You've announced it to the word. We'll have to make sure that she comes back into the fold. Bugzo, if you're listening, mate, just get your shit together. You're coming along.
It's going to be good. Gordon Spooner's joined us as well, and then having a team meeting on the Q&A. Loving it. That's going.
Well, this is the thing, Ben. Like, this is kind of the only time that I get to see RT and Dane together collectively. True. We just spread to the arseholes of the universe, and away we go from there. There you go, James. He's like, hang on a minute.
You heard it here first, folks.
We'll just, when Tammy comes back online, we'll just act as though no one said anything, and we'll just keep progressing forward from that perspective.
She doesn't know. Yeah, sorry. Recording. Today, I did actually get out and about, and it was good to go and see a heap of houses that are under construction in 2 different main areas of some Southeast Queensland locations. And it was really good to go out there and sort of walk through some of the houses with a builder that we've been using for ages, and some of the improvements and sort of some of the little 1%ers that premium builders look to provide inside houses to just make them even better and better and better. So it was fantastic to go out there and walk the ground. Excuse me, for those that sort of haven't been watching some of our socials, please jump online there and you'll see some amazing photos that were taken. by what was going on there. Mute your Slack, please. Good idea, Noah. I would fucking just turn that off. That is a good idea.
Tell me, RT, because obviously about this time last year, we were really in like the depths of what COVID was hitting. And sure, we went around some of the estates and it was probably a lot quieter then than what it is now. I suppose, can you just give us an insight, I suppose, about like what it seemed like from a tempo perspective of how it was 12 months ago, like in the depths of COVID versus where we're up to now?
Oh, mate, it was on tradies utes everywhere. If it wasn't such a shitty day, it would have been bloody tradies with singlets and bloody guns out, suns out everywhere. So, but it wasn't. It was they had their tradies still wear shorts and t-shirt, and they just put like a little bloody fluffy vest on top to keep themselves a little bit warm. But yeah, mate,
girls would have been disappointed.
Literally, like we're weaving in and out the roads there, like it was like bloody a German car factory. Tradies utes everywhere. So yeah, mate, it was very, very busy. Even and Sindel, coming from you, my dear, who's a fucking master planner when it comes to fixtures and fittings and quality. Love the newest.
Don't I know it
today? Yeah, yes, don't we both? Which is fantastic. And in fact, Sindel's improvements to one of the designs has now been adopted by said builder as the new standard for the design moving forward, which is great. It was just fantastic to see, some of the new improvements that the builders are always looking to sort of improve themselves on there. And it was really cool to go out there. I can't say too much, of course, because it's a little bit of intellectual property there on our behalf that those people that are buying in that area that can choose to use, that gets the opportunity to use for that builder, you guys will benefit from it. Those that are buying, because not every builder builds in every areas. So I guess they're very localized to one specific area. So for instance, Sindel, where you guys are building your next house, that builder doesn't build up there. So that stuff you saw today probably won't be in your new house. So it's just one of those things. But yeah, it was really cool to be out and about on the ground today and to see houses in lots of different states of construction. Some with slab down, some just with frames up, some with roofs and walls on, insulation being put in, etc., etc. You can see all the electrical rough in, the plumbing rough in, the gas bloody piston sitting out there ready for the stovetop to go on. So it was really, really cool to almost like get a bit of a behind the scenes view, almost like what a naked skeleton looks like. That's my little picture of it anyway. A naked skeleton is what a house. That's what we're looking at today. So there you go. What about you, Dan? I know you've been in and out of some of the areas recently as well to sort of have a look at houses in different stages. It's always fascinating, isn't it, to see what's underneath the skin of the house? Yeah,
and I mean, some of the stuff that I find the most interesting is we've got a few clients out there at the moment who are building like their own home or their forever home. And it's always really interesting speaking to those clients because far more often they go out there and they start to ask their trusted agents. They're like, I'm building a house. What must I put in there? What must I put in there over there? And everyone comes in with their own different ideas and they bring them all together in this big melting pot. And it goes, this is what my house needs to look like, right? So it just goes to show that when you are building your own home, everyone has their own individual tastes from that perspective. So I've got a client, she's mad keen on her cars, right? Like super keen on her cars. So one of her criteria was my garage door needs to be insulated. So we've had to go out for her and find out a way to be able to insulate your panel lift door at the front of the house in order to make sure that the garage temperature remains low enough because her cars are her pride and joy. So we've got some stuff like that going on. We've got a whole bunch of
wine. Is it temperature controlled cars?
No, they keep the room cold for the car. Yes.
Why?
Cool for the car.
Why?
Sorry, mate. Hopefully my silence is yelling at you with a fucking bewilderment.
And you remember about 10 seconds ago when I said that everyone's tastes are very individual when it comes to their own home.
Totally, but I'm just trying to understand the functionality of said fucking temperature control. That's what I said.
Robbie, they just put their wine in their car.
When people spend a lot of money on their cars and spend bucket loads on paint jobs, they don't want the temperature in their garage to be going up too high and therefore potentially impacting the paint job on the long term.
Oh, fuck. They wouldn't want to go and park at the football then.
They won't.
They wouldn't all down the beach.
Drive the car.
Or drive it fucking wherever.
You're pretty right, mate. There you go. Removal boxes work from Ken Herman there. Keeps the shed cool.
Could be if she wants to work on her car. Garage isn't too hot.
Yeah.
Mate, I love it. who am I to fucking judge anyone on their personal choices? Fucking far from it. It's just it's a very fascinating story. I was listening with intent.
Yeah.
So,
well, there you go. Like getting a humidifier for a wine room.
What a fucking stupid idea. Who would ever
right. So shouldn't be throwing rocks at glass houses, my friend.
I know.
I suppose is the sentiment that we should be talking about there. But yeah, I've loved like working with these clients who are building their own homes because they force you to go narrow and deep on some of those really intricate details that for an investor that's out there that might not have ever thought about it, you're like, oh, well, what about this and then this and then this and then this and the flow-on effects that you need to consider as it goes through the journey as well. So there you go.
Tamara and I have got like a big meeting tomorrow with when you're talking about building said house from said ground up, and every single little tiny fucking intricate detail needs to be chosen and by us, and there's fucking 10 different choices on everything, not just the colors. We're going to go and do that tomorrow. So yeah, we've got a full day out of the office tomorrow. So the event continues.
Yeah. I know that you're like neck deep in that stuff, Tammy, and for fear of like invoking a bit of a rage attack here, like going through and I mean like Kent and Tash are there in the background. Sindel, you've been through this recently as well. Like we've got other clients that are going through the process, right? Tam, just give people a bit of an insight as to how much of that emotion and some frustration and drive comes into doing your own home.
Well, first of all, we've had 5 different points of contact so far, and we haven't even got the slab down yet. So we aren't using one of our normal builders. We're using someone that's particular in this sort of canal home that we're looking to build. But anyway, so yeah, they certainly don't do the Axon process. Let's just put it that way. We haven't had that constant point of contact. So that's been a bit frustrating. So you kind of have passed on things that you want and things, and then you have to physically check that they're in the contracts. They've changed. There's a problem with our pool hasn't been done right, so they're going to have to go back out there, fix the pool. Currently we got our list of all the tapware, that everything is wrong, different toilets, different tapware, different. There was in my shower, there's 3 different shower heads listed, and like
is there only one shower head, or is there? Actually, I was like, that's an intricate shower with 3 shower heads.
Different shower heads, and then another one is missing the where you turn the tap on, so that's not been the mix up. So we've spent 3 hours at this place getting all these fixtures and fittings, and we're going to have to spend another how many hours tomorrow afternoon. As Ben's saying, they're probably regretting taking out a job from Axon.
Well, I mean, the reason that
I thought that that was another reason for not using someone that we build with is I don't want to be too mean.
I don't want to burn the relationship.
I mean, the reason that I brought it up, Tammy, isn't to really like bring out your frustrations that you do have with the process, right? But it should really allow people to start to see that the process that you're going through is very normal. Like that you got to check all these things. You need to double check it. When you're going through and building your own home, it's very personalized from that perspective.
Yeah.
And every single bit being different.
We've always done investment properties. This will be our first home that we're building. So with all of our investment properties, we have investment properties that I've never seen and I don't need to see because the numbers work. It's constantly rented. They're brand new properties. They don't have anything wrong with them. And when they show us the color selections, we've just gone neutral, like something that's easily rentable, that's modern but still keeps across the tastes of many. So yeah, we've never really strayed into the design, I guess, aspect that I'm going into now. But yeah, you're so right. When it's an investment property, it's very different to your own home. The amount of emotional capital that we're putting in now is very different.
we went from here and went straight over to here. There was no time spent in the middle oscillating. We're fucking from one to the other.
Yeah.
Just while we're on that point, another really awesome event that's happened this week, whilst we're talking about people buying their own homes, Mr. Dane Roach. Well, a round of applause. Yeah. Unconditional your forever home. Now, the lifestyle choice, not wealth creation choice. So you have bought. Tell us about the property you bought, mate.
Just constructed. So I bought that, and it's in. I'm being a bit selfish in a way, because I want to live by the beach, and I deserve it. Pretty much. So which I've gone through. I didn't want to get a unit because I don't advocate for them. So getting this and being new as well is another thing as well that I really wanted to get. So I have all the warranties and everything in place as well. But I fucking love it. So I got my finance approved yesterday, which was massive for me. And I'm already looking at now retirement. That's my next thing, Robbie. I've got my place now. My next thing is hanging up the boots. So yeah, just.
But you were fortunate as well. This just recently as well. Even the selling of your last house and the market has given you great returns. The market's continuously rising. So, continually investing and buying property, it's just time. Yeah,
absolutely. And being market conscious, I guess, like my big thing is I didn't view the house we were in at the time being a long-term investment. It didn't stack up with my investment, I guess, guidelines. So to reduce, non-taxable debt, which was my own home, I wanted to sell it. And I was very conscious. I was doing it in quite short turnaround, but the market was very great for us. So being able to go and drain a fair bit of profit out of that and into our own home will be great. So it's been a big week for me with that. And I don't know. We drove down, Jess and I constantly driving over there, like meeting the neighbours, and then there's some people having a barbecue down at the park in the street, and we're thinking about introducing us. Yeah. Oh, we're just moving in up there. Yeah, but
you go down the road and speak to the people at the park, and they'll be like, "We're visiting from Victoria."
Yeah, who the fuck is this guy?
You don't even know.
Nutbag down at the park.
Tammy and I did a bit of a drive-by on Sunday. Was it, Tam?
Yeah.
Monday we had day off. We had to go grab the HelloFresh from the office because they didn't fucking deliver.
I forgot it was a public.
Let's do a bloody drive-by at Dane's place. So we're on the phone and we go, oi, what number is it? So he directed us to where we at. Mate, it's a bloody flash spot. Really
really good. So
the surfer in you will love it.
Yeah, and that's it. So I just did my list. What's number one? I wanted to be walking distance to the beach, a couple of blocks, right? But then I also wanted to be close to work. I know it sounds, but I do, because I work a lot. Yeah, I'm thinking about selling the car. So now I've sort of got this great little prism, which I'm going into, whereas, I just want everything to be very convenient. Yeah, man.
He's not going to leave the bubble.
I can just literally move between two suburbs.
No, he's not retiring, mate. Because he's going mano with the bank.
The bank says, no.
I actually love it that he's got himself into, the right amount of debt, Ben, to live in his bloody dream home. Because then I know he's not going anywhere. He's going to be wearing this Axon shirt for a fucking long time. So
a little bit, some wiggle room, mate. A little bit of wiggle room.
Yeah, no,
I've already looked at now. What does this do for me getting an investment after this? So, mate, I'm already 2 steps that way.
As so many people are sort of saying, Remy LeBeau, Beck Hinton, Benny Hinton, Anthony Lee, etc. Everyone's like saying, congrats. Mate, it's a huge step in one's life, and you've now leapfrogged me. Tam and I haven't. Sure, we've got our block of land, but we're fucking nowhere near ready to occupy, and you're bloody moving in a month or so. So it's fantastic, mate. I look forward to the housewarming. There's 2 hours in Turner when you send out the invite, please.
What's that address again?
I don't know. In my desk next to you in the office, mate.
Right there. 40 centimetres away. No, definitely. It'd be good. Barbecues and beers on me.
Mate, sure. So good. Oh, Debbie Rosberg's joined us, the one and the only. Now, here's a bit of extra skin in the game. Dane. Oh, it's fucked it up, right? Big Dane. D's in the office. Dane, skin in the game. Question without warning. Who did your finance? Who did your solicitor stuff?
Deb and Shay.
Bang. Deb and Shay. Who does our finance for all of our clients?
Deb.
Who does all the soliciting for all of our clients?
Shay.
Right, there you go.
Same as us.
Why reinvent the wheel? Why would I do that?
Dan, who did you find? Like, you know, it's like there's so many different examples anyway about you know, people using the sort of inner circle of Axon. So it's really, really good. Will Grigor is going to bring the $2.50 Audi wine. Now, my man, when you do come across here to the eastern states, whilst I used to enjoy looking at the fucking extra special bottles of wine down the bottom there of the BWS, I don't know, when things sort of change in life, it sort of bubbles up to the top a little bit, and you can bring it if you like, but I'll fucking tip it out and you can drink some of our good shit. All right? So,
Robbie.
I thought you were going to say that he can drink it.
No. No. What about you, Dan? Tell us about, give us a bit of an insight into some of the other, because I know you're really looking forward to hosting the event down in Canberra on Friday night. But what else have you been sort of, what's going on in your world from that? And then we'll go back to Luke Hughes's question in a second.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't even have a long weekend just gone, to be honest. I sacrificed it because I had some really good friends of mine that I've been speaking to for quite a while, sort of on the back channel ever since I sort of started at Axon, that they've been doing their own thing on the back channel and talking about, oh yeah, we're doing our own property journey and everything like that. And mate, finally on Monday, I got to catch up with those guys for an initial coaching session with them, which for those of you who have done your initial coaching normally goes for about 2 hours. I think theirs ended up going for about 3.5 hours because we had a fair bit of territory to cover off on. But it was just so fulfilling to be able to turn around and help people that are friends of you first. So you take things to an even higher level. When I'm like, as much as I'd love to tell them that I went easy on them, I probably went a lot harder on them than I would our normal clients, because you care about them so much, even more at those early stages. So we had some pretty robust conversations, and they were very receptive. They were very receptive to some of the stuff we spoke about. But I mean, at the end of the day, they need to be able to jump in there and certainly go ahead, and now they need to go and implement a whole lot of things. So it's just another one of those little passion projects that they will do something soon at some point in time. But when they've gone down their path for such a long period of time, there's some stuff that now needs to be tweaked in order to bring them out of what they're doing to optimize their ways going forward as well. So, I mean, I was having conversations with them that if we'd spoken 2 to 3 years ago, then I probably would have saved them like $3,000, $4,000 a year in interest repayments over the last 3 to 4 years each. So there's like a $20,000 discussion, which kind of hits home at some points in time as well.
Wow. Well done.
But it's not just the money that they would have saved, but it's what they could have then done with that money, right?
Yeah, right.
Because these people, like, when you start thinking about it, this is the new way that I'm starting to think about that you can do in today's time that's really good money habits. Sure, you get the benefits from it immediately, right? But if you're 30 years old and you can put that money habits in place in this year and then invest it, compounding interest over the next 30 years, let's say you even save an extra $5,000 per year, $5,000 a year compounding for the next 30 years is phenomenal. Compared to what you're certainly expecting. So it's not just about saving extra dollars today. It's about then leveraging that extra money to deliver the greatest outcomes at the back end. And it's just phenomenal when you sit down and let time be your greatest ally from the age of 35 onwards, just how much power you've really got from that time as well.
Yeah. Wow. A few things jumped out at me there. First of all, no doubt when you're talking to very good friends, that the feedback and coaching and guidance with your work hat on, you would have given it to them even straighter than what we normally do, if that's even fucking possible, because we just tell it as straight as it can be anyway. But when it comes from a place of care, that you actually care about them as individuals and you've got that personal relationship, certainly that would have been a great little experience for you to go on there, which is really cool. But yeah, and then I guess that's the other thing about the opportunity cost as well. I don't know anything about where the properties are, etc. And sure, there's a few tweaks as far as $3 or $4 goes, but hopefully they bought in reasonable areas as well, and they haven't missed out on too much capital growth. So certainly,
there's a Townsville property in there, mate.
Okay, righto. Yeah, I wasn't fishing for that, and I'm sorry to hear that as well. But
it is what it is. Like their portfolio is where it is, and they're very pragmatic about that, and they're very open to being like, okay, what do we need to do to get this on the straight and narrow? The beautiful thing is they've got a way forward, and they've got 30 years of their life to be able to tick this stuff off as well. They don't need 30 years to be able to tick it off, but I mean, the more that they can do over the next little while is certainly going to change their life, and it's quite often when I'm coaching people, when you speak about, okay, well, you probably gave it to them even straighter. Quite often when I'm coaching people, if they're sitting there and they turn around and they're like, they might say that they're motivated, but you can pick up that they're not quite motivated. I'll be like, it doesn't affect me if you don't do these things. It only affects you, right? Yeah. But when it's people that you know, love, and care about already, all of a sudden, I don't take that approach. I'm not like, you can't, I'm not like, it's all right, you can do it if you want it. I'm like, you need to fucking do this. Yeah. And it's like, they just don't have a choice because I want to see them be that successful, and I know that they deserve it. So, yeah, they don't get off scot-free. Like, their success then becomes something that becomes part of my happiness as well. So, therefore, you need to be able to go a lot deeper from that perspective.
Yeah, man, it's fucking gold. What a great story. This is, this is literally, I'm now hearing this firsthand, ladies and gents. I hope you can feel that. Yeah, mate, that's a fucking great story. Good, well done for you, mate. And certainly it's as the man, the myth, the legend himself, Greg Haggett joins us. Hags, mate, congrats on getting your finance approved overnight. And I know that you and Brooke are absolutely stoked. I drove past exactly where you're probably going to be today. And mate, life changing is that's exactly what it is. And for those that saw our success story yesterday that I posted up there about a couple, he was 52. They're obviously 1 year older now. 52-year-old male, 54-year-old female, bought 2 investment properties at the same time after they paid off their own home because they realized that all their fucking money was in their house. And they're like, now that we've been educated by the Axon way, how are we actually going to get this passive income to supplement the lifestyle we're leading? He's on 120 grand a year. She earns 100 grand a year. So how are they going to get $200,000+ a year of passive income? It's not just going to come from their super. So it is never too late, especially if you're under 55. Certainly the banks are not going to give you a 30-year loan when you're 55, for instance. But certainly, saw that one thought of the in-laws. Absolutely, but Ben. So, and Hags, you sort of jump to sort of spring the mind there as well as a gentleman that's in his late 40s, early 50s. There's opportunity for people to still have a fucking awesome retirement if you've been relatively smart with your money decisions so far, but you've still got 20 odd years worth of, property life in the market there to really sort of capitalize on stuff.
Absolutely. Self-realization of that though, isn't it, Robbie? Like you said, there's plenty of time still, but when you're in that defense bubble, I like to call it your Shawshank Redemption, you're stuck between those walls. That's a good way. You're paying cheap rent and you just go through and suddenly you get towards the end and you go, and I'm speaking to a guy at the moment, and you go, hey, mate, you need a roof over your head, dude, because you're not going to get fucking RA or married. You won't be entitled. And then they have that penny drop going, oh, shit. Like something I just haven't had to indulge in. So once you have that self-realization and go, even though this isn't directly affecting me at the moment, this is going to be fucking important to me at the back end. So I need to start planting the seeds along the way and building it in conjunction with me working. So when I do turn out the other side, and you will leave defense eventually, no matter what, you're not there caught in the wind going, all right, I'm fucked at the moment because I haven't, I didn't plan for this at the start and now I'm caught out. So, yeah, really good, man. Really, really good.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, if you're not investing in something, like our stream is property, but if you're not investing in something and compounding your money, like you're not getting ahead. That's how they talk about the rich getting richer, and this is the money habits that rich people have. They have that mindset and that understanding of, I need to do stuff with my money to make money. I need to do something now to make my future self thank me, like the money side of things. My future self will thank me by the money decisions I make now and the investing and the compounding of my money now.
Yeah, 100%. No, just before we go too much further, and Hags, act your comment there, brother. It's my absolute pleasure, buddy. I'll catch up with you and Brooke real soon when we hand you over to the Build Support team. Noah, can you just go back and bring up Luke Hughes's question, please? He basically spoke about, you'll love it when you're inside my OODA loop. So Dane, question for you. How do the banks treat rental income on our investment property? If you're on, say, 80 grand a year and you're getting 20 grand a year in rent, what's it look like for subsequent properties, 2, 3, and 4?
Well, I'm not a walking line calculator. I wish I was, but I'm not. But the biggest thing I always think about is debt-to-income ratio. Our income, whether it is extended by us now receiving another $20,000 in rent, will be maxed, and I don't know the percentages off the top of my head, might be 6 to 1 or whatever it is, by how much debt we can have relative on our income, right? Because you'll be surprised, especially when we have dual borrowers. You might have someone on 80K, they turn around and their partner's on 20, and the fucking difference can be mind-blowing. A lot of time I'm like, how can it be that much bigger? But it's about, well, you're going to have first your HEM, what it's going to cost for that family to function and run and keep moving from A to B, and then your discretionary income above that. But also to keep in mind is that debt to income ratio. You will tap at a point. You will tap. So, you'd like to think that by property 4, you in a way would be decreasing. What about you, Dan?
Yeah,
absolutely. So, Luke, I love working on the numbers. You pretty much said there, if I'm getting 80 grand a year and you're getting 20 grand a year in rent. So the banks don't turn around, buddy, and say, hey, man, I can see that you're getting, what's $20,000 divided by 52. I can see you're getting $385 a week in rent. The banks need to risk manage that. So I'll go $385 a week in rent. Let's times that by 0.8. We'll take 80% of that and we'll shave some of your rent off. So now the banks will calculate your borrowing power on if you're only getting $310 a week coming in on that property. They probably won't take into consideration your tax return either on that. They'll just think of the pure numbers that are coming in. And that $307 a week that they basically worked off for 12 months of the year, let's also factor in that you probably won't have tenants in it for 2 weeks of the year at least, if not 4. So we'll just times that by another 0.9. So of your $385 a week, the bank's probably looking at that going, you know what, we'll assess this at $275 a week from a rental return perspective, because they need to shave this stuff off in order to be able to risk manage your portfolio from that perspective as well. So I always tell my clients, the banks are going to put the handbrake on you way before you feel the handbrake actually come on if you have good money habits. If you've got shit money habits, you're going to have the handbrake pulled on before you even get started. But if you've got good money habits, I've got clients that are still putting aside $3,000 to $4,000 a month, right, between a double income, no kids family, and they've been told by the banks you can't have any more money because you've reached that threshold, even though their properties are tenanted 52 weeks a year, even though they're getting a higher level of rent than what was originally put on. It's just the way the banks work is they need to factor in some of that shaving in order to give you the best return as well. So it slows down from that perspective, Luke, I suppose. But at the end of the day, mate, it all comes down to you need to have enough income coming in the door versus what's going out. The delta that you got there between what comes in and what goes out is the amount of money that can be put towards you servicing in your party. What about you, RT? Extra?
Banks are a lot more risk adverse now than they ever were. I know, God, even 10 years ago, it was a lot easier to get a loan when I first got one of my first loans 15 years ago. But yeah, the banks now, I feel like the risk, they're the ones making sure you don't take the risk, not you being too cautious.
The other thing that goes toward, so yes, and yes. The banks also will sometimes put it up to 2% loading on the interest rate. The interest rate might only be 3.5%. They'll be like, what if interest rates are 5.5%? So that's, a bit more of a squeeze on the servicing there. And I guess, Luke, to answer the first thing that springs to my mind there, mate, is that even when you watch our case studies, we're not one of these firms that's like, you can have 16 properties one day because 4 becomes 8 and 8 becomes 16. And your portfolio just duplicates like that. If you ever hear anyone spruiking that shit, fucking hang up right now because it's almost like it's a pyramid model coming your way, which is going to end up in a whole big fucking upside down pile of shit, right? So the level of scrutiny, there was this very small thing that occurred, hence the sarcasm, called the Banking and Financial Services Sector Royal Commission about 2.5 years ago. there were young families and old families on there crying that they'd lost their fucking life savings, and banks charging dead people fucking interest on their loan that they don't even fucking have anymore. So there were dodgy mortgage brokers writing dodgy loans for young people that couldn't even fucking afford them in the first place because the handbrakes didn't exist. So this whole thing, Luke, about buying as a young guy or single income, as Dane and Tamara have just spoke about then, don't even fucking think about having any more than 2 properties, mate. Banks just won't let you lend that amount of money coming into your life. But when you have a partner come and join you, he or she's only got to be on 20, 30 grand a year, and it bumps it up a couple of $100,000. It makes a massive difference when you have someone come and join you. As you would expect, the sum of 2 people working together, those parts are going to, equal so much more than 2 people doing it by themselves. So there's a fair bit of simplistic complexities that go into making and it's your expectations that need to be sort of managed as well, mate. Don't even think that you're getting 3 or 4 properties until you have someone else come and join you. And the scrutiny that the banks place on you is a fucking good thing, by the way, because they don't want you on fucking Today Tonight crying in front of the camera that you fucking can't bloody manage your mortgages anymore.
Yeah. Keeping in mind also when RT's talking about 3 or 4 properties, that's like 3 or 4 good properties, not 3 or 4 properties worth $200,000, man. Because you can probably get 3 or 4 properties worth $200,000. I'll concede that.
Correct.
But they're not great investment style properties that are going to be well suited for your portfolio.
Very good point. It's not about the number of properties in your portfolio, ladies and gents. It's the net worth of your portfolio. You can have 2 properties in your portfolio and be in a far better position than someone who's got 5 properties in shit areas. And then if you got properties in shit areas, you've probably got shit tenants as well. So you got problems with maintenance and stuff.
Deb's saying there, a couple under one roof has less expenses. Their expenses are now shared rather than a single person paying full rent, full electricity, full meals, all the costs.
So it all gets split up. Yeah, 100%. Now, the reason why I chuffed before Megan Maguire, I'm like, fuck, I have not seen a question like that come through for a while. I do know down the bottom there she has a meeting at Axon headquarters when she's coming to Brisbane this month. So who's helping out Megan, by the way? I apologise.
So Dane and I have had a discovery session with her a couple of months ago where she's coming into the office on I feel like it's like the 28th.
Okay.
There you go. 28th. She'll be in our office. She's going to drop in for about an hour. And Dane and I are just going to have sort of a protracted discovery session at that point in time, face to face.
So what's the actual? I just need to read through this so I can just frame the fucking question. And I do appreciate she says it's long-winded. So how does securing land in the future work? Do you need to put down a deposit now to secure land that isn't available for 12 months? So the quick answer to that is yes. Only in Queensland can you put down a very small deposit. Sometimes it's up to $5,000 in a stockland estate, for instance. They ask you to put $5,000 down. Very small deposit. And you're fully protected by a finance clause for 12, 18 months. You want to go buy a property down south, that finance clause doesn't exist, and you need to put a 10% deposit down on the land. So it's much, much more difficult down there. It's more riskier, I should say. In my discovery session, it was mentioned that because of my situation about the commence leave without pay for 18 months, and therefore we won't have a steady income, I can't really invest in property until I'm back in defence. However, as mentioned in my discovery session, some land is available for another 12 months anyway, etc., etc. So yeah, it all comes down, Megan, may I say, and I wasn't on the call, so I'm sort of getting a quick little understanding of your circumstances there now. It all comes down to the nucleus of the commando property method, mate, and that is the strategy and understanding those decision points and changing circumstances in your life, and how can you map it out on the Gantt chart / sync matrix. That's what the boys are going to do for you when you actually go down and do your discovery session. And once you map it all out, and you have that course of action 1, course of action 2. Sorry if it sounds all fucking militarized, but hey, guess what? You're in the right place. That's following that strategy and having that sort of road that all mapped out for you, mate. There'll be a level of clarity and planning that you don't have right now, and that's the whole reason why we charge a couple of $100 to do that coaching session. So hopefully that sort of helped you out from a peace of mind perspective.
Yeah. No, I remember that discovery session well, and Megan was like, so I'm going on leave in 2 months for the next 18 months with no pay. Can I go get a house? And I'm like, sorry, man, the banks will probably want to see an income from that bad boy.
As Deb and I spoke about today, the banks lend money to people that can demonstrate that you can repay said money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
so that's all good. Now, Noah, there was another question a little bit earlier. It was talking about cross-securitization or cross-collateralization, please.
Yes.
Can you please bring that up? That was a ripper question. I can't remember who it was from. There you go, Gordon. So here you go, RT, coming at you.
He's on the ball today.
Thick and fast, mate. What are the pros and cons of cross-collateralization investment properties? Additionally, does it affect your borrowing capacity when further investing in properties?
Gordon, good to hear from you, brother. I hope you and the missus and the family and everything are well. Cross-securitization or cross-collateralization is almost like a last resort. Like the banks, so when you grab equity from one property and use it as a deposit and cost for the next one, as per the case studies that you've seen for us from years and years, ideally, Deb or your mortgage broker won't want to do that because then the bank just sees it as one big loan. If they need to cross-securitize or cross-collateralize it, that was it. It's the first combat indicator that the banks are happy to lend you the money, but they want to tighten things up a little bit in the event of something in the conditions of your loan. Remember the 4 C's of lending: capital, conditions, credit, and capacity. So now we're back to the conditions.
Do you want to just explain to people what they mean by cross-collateralization?
I am, Tam. I'm getting there. I'm getting there, my dear. You know, I go off my little
You're
raw
going off for
events.
it,
They
right.
always come back on, though.
Yeah.
So the banks, there's something about the conditions or the circumstances of your loan whereby the banks don't want to have an equity loan that's not tied to the loan of the new acquisition, right? The equity loan can be taken from one security of one property, and then you can have a separate bank come in and do the acquisition loan of the new one. But when it's cross-securitized, there's only one bank involved, and they have control over the equity loan and the new loan, just to sort of, control, therefore lowering the risk. So that's what I mean by pros and cons. I would.
So it's instead of using different banks for each property, it's cross-collateralization would be using the same property to keep going, which is using the original loan with that bank for the next purchase.
But there's still 2 properties involved. So here's the thing. If you're in your accumulation phase, and if that's the only way where you can get the loan approved for the next best property in a really good location that fits the criteria as Dan was talking about, not a little shitty $200,000 property, I would do it. Because if the banks are still lowering their risk threshold and still allowing you to lend the money with all those other buffering things that Dan and I explained before, it's better to still have that property in your portfolio and you hang on to that sucker and let it perform for you. They're just going, they're going to cross-securitize me or cross-collateralize. I don't think it's a good idea, so I'll let that opportunity go. And you miss out on all the research that you've done to get to that point to nail down the right location, the right market, the right floor plan, and all the other stuff. Dane or Dan, have you got any other thing to pass on there? Hopefully that helps you a little bit, Gordon.
I'll let Dane launch first, mate.
There are pitfalls, just like Robbie spoke about there, being pigeonholed in the one bank, and there's obviously valuations and so on and so forth. But there are good tax advantages by going and using collateral, which I like, because the purpose is going to an income-producing asset, we can still claim that interest at tax time. If you turned to me and said, and my BC allowed it, and I had some cash sitting there, but I could also go against and get some equity to launch into another property, I would probably choose the equity personally because that suits my own circumstance. I would really look at that and keep my cash at bank because I'm not going to drive an interest tax deduction from that. So there are a lot of little, it's hard to sort of give that a straight answer because it really depends on each person. And like Robbie said, the juice is worth the squeeze, I think. You don't want to go all the way to the end and go, oh, fuck, I don't like the sound of that. I don't like the sound that the bank's got a lot of control over this. Because in the end, you're building wealth and it's going to get you over the line. I guess I would do it hands down. Hands down. What about you, Dan?
Yeah, I think Deb's just kind of highlighted it there, I suppose, where she sort of said it can impact your future borrowing. For me, it all comes down to what's your next step that you're going to do after this. Robbie, you sort of said earlier, it's this is your first combat indicator that the banks are going to really start tightening up on things. So for me, it's what is the next step after that? If you think that you're going to get tied down now and then you've got the next step where you want to go and get another property, it's there's something else that you need to solve first.
Yeah.
So in all of those instances, I think I've got no issues with potentially doing it to begin with. But then from my perspective, when I start thinking about my risk management on my portfolio as well, I go, okay, I'll do that to get that property under my wing. Now, what's the next step I need to do to be able to try and break those suckers apart again later on down the track so that I can have the ultimate flexibility in my portfolio? So short-term thing, yes. Long-term thing, it's probably not it's not my optimal strategy that I'd decide to go and get if I possibly could. But it's something that you do in the short term to get the easy win out of the way and then be able to go back and restructure everything to be able to go your long-term goals.
Yeah, do you think mortgage brokers, they take that into consideration these days, or we're just fortunate enough to have Deb on our team that considers that kind of thing?
Well,
I've been doing this for nearly 8 years in the industry here, and I have had experience. So it's easier for a mortgage broker to just all zip it up in one bank, cross-collateralize it. It's more work, and there's more diligence and effort that needs to go into writing a loan and putting the right flexible structure in place as Dan's put forward. So yeah, certainly having someone who's willing to do that extra level of diligence to have more flexibility in your portfolio is of high beneficial to you.
It might just be something that you do take on board as well when you're in your consolidation phase, because like if you're moving into consolidation phase anyway, so prepare, accumulate, consolidate, then enjoy. If you're getting like the handbrake being put on by saying you need to cross securitize anyway, like guess what, ladies and gents, you're moving rapidly into the consolidation phase most likely. So it might be the right option for you when you're consolidating everything that you can have shit tied together with one lender, because if you've got a big enough portfolio, one lender might be able to come in and look after you a lot better than having 4 different lenders. You just need to make sure that you've got the payoff from a risk perspective then. So you got to balance out what the financial benefits might be that you get versus what risks you then undertake by having one lender looking after your entire portfolio, and just make a judgment call as to whether that's worthwhile. And I mean, for most people, like I suppose we were speaking to Luke before, like if you're talking about 2 properties, that's not necessarily the idea at that point in time. You probably don't have enough assets sitting there for a bank to look at you really favorably when you've got like $1 million worth of assets. You probably need to be bumping yourself up to $3 or $4 million worth of assets before that starts to come into play.
Yeah, and as Deb's
just cleared that up. Yeah, having your loans all with one lender does not mean they're all cross-secured. So that actually cleared that up.
100%.
That's that. You will get sharper interest rates and better products and features with higher aggregate lending with one lender. But if you can keep them all separate for that flexibility, it's the ultimate there.
Break that
as Will was saying before, it's way over my head, and that's why we have these legends.
No, I thought you did really well, Tam.
Deborah Rosberg and the coaches to guide you.
Yeah. The importance of reviewing, and I love hearing that. I was speaking to someone tonight actually, doing some coaching before I jump on this, is a lot of people will go and get whatever they have to do to get them over that line. And then they go, oh, yeah, and then I just carry on, right? But you need to be reviewing your portfolio. You know, like there might be better opportunities there where you might refinance at that, splits, everything like that. It requires constant reviewing because the economy changes all the time. You don't want to just go, yeah, well, that's who I got the loan with, and I had a Dolomites account with them, and it was fucking great. And I'm here, and my dad banked with them, and his dad, and lots of stuff like that. Shit is gone. You need to make sure that you are reviewing it vigorously, because I'm sure everyone on here would agree. I'd rather money in than the banks. And if it takes me doing a little bit of work and a little bit of paper shuffling and moving around, then I will definitely do that. So always be reviewing it.
Literally, I had a phone call with Deb today, who's now getting the second property loan together for some clients that bought, property with us already. 18 months ago, there was lender A, and that was absolutely the best circumstances for them. But now that Deb's got valuations on both those properties with lender B, she's like, oh, shit, what do I do, Robbie? In broad terms, let's fuck off that first one. She didn't say this. I'm just telling you what my company is. This is my executive summary, Deb. You would never say fuck in front of other people. So we're going to get rid of that original loan. Sure, they're going to pay $6,000 or $7,000 in lender's mortgage insurance, but the amount of money they're going to save on their interest repayments after 7 months, they're in front, and they're in front from the whole rest of the time thereafter. Because of, the sharper interest rates and the better products and features that Deb has got for them means that they're going to be in front from a longer term perspective, so much more. Look at that. We've got 100 messages today with Restream. Thank you so much.
You know what? And we didn't even have Jane here contributing like 50 of them today.
True. Very, very true. So
there was another question a little bit earlier. I'm trying to remember the context.
There's the one from CJ.
There was one by Will as well.
Yes, the one by Will. That's the one I was thinking about.
When he
Can we go
spoke
to
about
Will's
if
first?
he was to have kids, what would that do to his borrowing capacity?
Double income.
I remember, mate. I saw it. And
He's having
All
no.
right. Let's go, Dane. You've got your glasses on. I know you can read it, but is having no kids as a married couple
worth no plans to have any make a difference
with no
terrible grammar there. But yes, we get it, mate. If you have no kids as a married couple, is it going to change anything in the bank's view? Yes. Well, in the end, more mouths to feed is going to drain your BC.
Yeah.
As simple as that.
Dependence.
The banks
and if they don't exist yet, then they don't count them in the bank size. They can't. The banks can't assume you're going to have children just because you're in a marriage or a relationship that says that you should have children, because lots of those couples decide that having children is not a really great idea. And guess what? There you go.
Your hand.
There you go. Awesome. All right, let's go back to CJ's question.
Raise your hand, please. Fucking hell.
Robbie was sitting there by himself going, why isn't Tammy putting her hand up?
Surprise.
So what's the go here? Have you guys had any issues with DVA and DOHAS lump sum, whereby you pause your DOHAS while the house is being built? Yes. But when you go to commence your DOHAS at the end of the build, they tell you won't qualify for lump sum because now you own an occupiable home. And one of the things about the DOHAS lump sum is that you can't get it if you've owned an investment property or your own home. CJ, it might be something we need to take offline, mate. It sounds like the person you got on the DVA hotline there is not across your circumstances and may not be applying what's actually happening to your file properly. I have not. So I guess the first question is, have you had any issues with DVA and DOHAS lump sum? This is the first time we've heard of that, mate.
Yeah. That's a weird one.
Yeah. So from my perspective, obviously, when you do it, if you're still, it's very different, CJ. It depends on whether you're in the military still or not with your DOHAS certificate. Obviously, when you're in the military, you can go back and get as many fucking DOHAS certificates as you want throughout the build phase, right? So if you're still in, you can get a DOHAS certificate to start kicking you over from when your land settles to when your fucking slab gets poured, then your frame goes up. Like, you can do it as many times as you want. It's a bit of a fuck around from an admin perspective, though. But when you get out of the military, obviously things change because you only get one DOHAS certificate after that fact. So that's where you might be coming into trouble as well, is because it's whether you pause your DOHAS or whether you've got a DOHAS certificate to kick things off back at the back end. They might just, I think they're getting confused about the whole build thing, to be perfectly honest. But
CJ's still in. He's still in.
So yeah. I don't see why there should be an issue, man. You should get your lump sum up front and then you keep your DOHAS and get another DOHAS certificate applied later on. Away you go.
That's my understanding. They just pay the lump sum straight onto the loan anyway.
Yeah.
So you're 4 years worth of tier one. Righto, what do we got there as well? Who else did I see? Lou and Daz Smith just joined us. Hello, good to see you. Is Robbie's tree real, brother?
Absolutely not.
It's as fucking real. It's as real as it comes from the fucking fake tree plant. There you go, from the fake tree shop.
No, we kill plants.
At least I didn't burn my hands on a candle like I have done before.
Oh, mate, I was waiting for you to hurt your bicep or do something stupid again.
Fucking silly, yeah.
Something gets broken from that perspective.
Fucking needs working again. Oh, I shouldn't do that. Well, this thing is working again.
What was the first one you did?
Hey, China.
Well, mate, I know that we're at 7:28, mate. 30 appointment. So wrap us up, buddy.
7:30 appointment too. That was
let's
very,
get this
very
finished up,
fast
ladies and gents.
One very far. There you go.
AJ Evans.
Day 11 of hotel quarantine. Very thankful for the Axon hour of power at 7 times ahead.
Where are you? Where in which state, city are you in? Let us know.
Yeah, he's enjoying life. He's been on the phone to Damo plenty of times while he's been in quarantine, so at least Damo's been keeping his company from that perspective.
It's just reminding me, we've just launched on our social media that we've done a video recapping all of the first season of the podcast. And so Robbie and I did a little video. There's in our stories, we've got a little quiz as well to see who is watching. The amazing Daniel in our marketing team was there coming up with some funny questions today. He was having a bit of a giggle, so there's something. But yes, please go and if you haven't watched the Axons Unleashed, listen to the Axons Unleashed podcast. We're about to go through to season 2 next week, and we are kicking off with such a good episode. It's
I got all the cues in the story correct. Well done, Benny and Lou and Dad Smith. Good stuff.
we're going to have Dave Simpson kicking off next week's podcast with the story of Sabi, the amazing explosive detection dog that he had that went missing for 14 months in Afghanistan. It's an absolute crazy story. I know the marketing team hadn't heard it before and they got goosebumps. They were like, holy shit, this is good. So I'm super pumped for season 2. The amount of amazing guests we have on, it's so good. So excited.
All right. Ladies and gents, we're going to go. We're a couple of minutes over now for our next meeting.
See you all later.
See you, legends, next week.